I would like to share something with you if that is okay. More blueberry juice. That was cringe. I'm never doing that again. So, a little excerpt from my personal writing is what I'd like to share. It is called, Was It Trauma or Truth? Here, my writing. For most of my life, I didn't question the way my body reacted to the world. I didn't know I was allowed to. Fear felt like truth. Anxiety felt like intuition. A racing heart felt like a warning. I didn't have the language for trauma responses or nervous system patterns. All I knew was that something inside me tightened at the slightest hint of danger, and I trusted that tightening more than I trusted myself. I didn't realize how much of my life was shaped by old wounds wearing new costumes. There came a point, quiet, almost unremarkable, when I started to wonder if everything I felt was actually real, not the pain itself, but the meaning I gave it. I began to notice how quickly I braced for impact, even when no one was swinging, how I apologized before anyone was upset, how I scanned rooms for exits without thinking, how I mistook intensity for connection and silence for safety, how I reacted to shadows as if they were threats. It was the first time I asked myself a question I had never considered. Was it trauma or truth? That question didn't arrive like a revelation. It arrived like a whisper, a small, inconvenient thought that was interrupted the stories I'd been telling myself for years. It showed up in moments when my body went rigid even though nothing was wrong. It showed up when someone spoke gently and I still felt the urge to shrink. It showed up when I felt myself spiraling and couldn't explain why. I started to see how often I lived in the past while standing in the present. I didn't trust myself yet. Not fully. But I was beginning to see the cracks in the old narrative. I was beginning to understand that my reactions weren't always about the moment I was in. Sometimes they were echoes. Sometimes they were memories. Sometimes they were the ghosts of things I had survived, still trying to protect me long after the danger was gone. This was the most disorienting part of healing, not the remembering, but the questioning, the not knowing, the slow, uncomfortable realization that my body wasn't always telling me the truth. Sometimes it was telling me the past, and yet there were moments, small, steady ones, when something inside of me felt clear. When a boundary rose up from a place deeper than fear, when a discomfort felt clean, not chaotic, when a yes felt grounded, when a no felt like self-respect instead of panic, when my intuition spoke in a voice that wasn't trembling. Those were moments that were new to me. They were unfamiliar. They were mine. This chapter of my life wasn't about reclaiming my voice. That came later. This was about learning to hear it, learning to separate the noise from the knowing, learning to sit with the discomfort of not having immediate answers, learning to pause before reacting, learning to ask myself gently and honestly, is this fear or is this truth? It was the beginning of discernment, the beginning of self-trust, the beginning of understanding that my body wasn't broken. It was remembering. And that remembering didn't make me weak. It made me human. This was the threshold I crossed before my voice returned, the moment I stopped assuming every feeling was a warning and started asking what it was trying to tell me. The moment I realized healing wasn't about silencing my reactions. It was about understanding them. It was the moment I began to come home to myself. Thank you for listening. Thank you.